Dear God, we've got an uptick in solar activity. We've got CMEs, we've got growing sunspots, and lots more to cover today at the Smash News Network, least busted name of news. So these are some coronagraphs here. Also the SDO 304 angstroms wavelength. Are those coronal mass ejections earthly directed? You'll have to wait until later in the video to see about that. First, yesterday plus today's imagery from SDO in 3 wavelengths. Huge number of filaments on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. South Pole-oriented coronal hole rotating in. New sunspots growing rapidly in the northwestern quadrant. You should see those quite well here in the intensity gram. A new group up here at high latitude. This group gaining lots of ombre. This group down here in the southeast growing as well. And another new group about to be named right here in the southeast. Here's a colorized magnetogram. Exciting stuff, plus the largest earthquake we've seen in over a year. First, volcanoes. If you're wondering what's erupting, so am I. Abico is. It's a 10,000-foot ash plume from Abico, 5,000-foot ash plume from Subanose-Jima, 19,500-foot ash plume from Popocatépetl as it explodes in central Mexico. Probably my bucket list volcano of all. Fuego volcanic ash not detected in Guatemala. Could be erupting. Don't assume it's not. Nevado del Ruiz exploding. Flight level 220, 22,000-foot ash plume. Sangay in Ecuador exploding. Flight level 200, 20,000-foot ash plume. And Sabancaya in Peru exploding. Flight level 220. Don't pole vault the caldera. There you go. Largest quake of the past year. Over a year. It has been since August of last year that we saw a quake of this magnitude. It was a 7.6, and there's where it happened. At Papua New Guinea. And it was at a bit of depth there. That was at estimated 90 kilometers depth. That came in at 23:46 Universal Time yesterday. And if you remember the Smash team, you would have found out about the tsunami warning quite promptly, as we do send out email alerts at smashomash.com/smashteam. So if you weren't aware of that, go sign up over at smashomash.com/smashteam, even if you don't want to support the channel via a gold or silver membership. Disaster alerts like that get sent out regardless. In other words, even bronze level gets disaster alerts, and the threat passed promptly. We got our alerts out before USGS did at smashomash.com/smashteam on our email alerts list. You can find links to that at the homepage at smashomash.com. And welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Congratulations on realizing our channel exists. Well done. Finding the real space weather. The most comprehensive daily space weather you'll find anywhere. You'll find our links there as well. And if you'd like to support your own health, click on the SureMed link on our homepage or below the video. More about that in a moment. And take a moment to press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Thanks to our new viewers over on YouTube. Thanks for putting up with the pathetic censorship on the platform. And to YouTube, we insist that you fix your software. There's my SureMed page. You can sign up directly on the page. Links below the video and on the homepage at smashomash.com to my SureMed page. If you've got questions or concerns, you can always drop me a line or send an email. But all the information is indeed right there on the website via the links. The teledoc service alone, otherwise known as Doctors by Phone, is worth the measly $20 a month. Who goes to a physical doctor? It's 2022. I mean, going to a physical doctor is so 2019. And thanks for leaving comments, Mama D1K and Smasho staff. Also, make sure you follow us on Twitter. twitter.com/Smashomash, the original Smashomash Twitter page. Over 15,000 tweets there. And I can't scroll down too far because there is exclusive content that you won't see anyplace else. We are also on Twitch, on the regs, thanks to our Twitch followers. Twitch.tv/Smashomash is the channel, and check out the merch. Visit the link below the video to the merch shop, as well as on the homepage at smashomash.com to find our merch shop. Items are listed here in order of best selling, and today's featured product is Mensa, Make Earth Not Suck Again. It's up to you, not giant heaving bureaucracies that can't even get out of their own way. I'm wearing the hat. Tell your friends and foes about us. Also, it's completely uncontroversial. It's a message of not productivity. It's a message of positivity and personal responsibility, freedom, liberty, etc. Mensa, Make Earth Not Suck Again. It's up to you. Act local. Think global. Or perhaps pick up some Galactic Federation Special Forces memorabilia. Universum Liberate, I would say to each of you. Once again, congratulations on realizing that the channel exists. Just viewing our videos is helping Make Earth Not Suck Again, incentivizing us to keep this content publicly visible and free for all to view. The print quality is very high. It's got smashomash.org's URL on there. So once again, Make Earth Not Suck Again. It's up to you. Please do your part. And let's get to the earthquake rundown here. So again, that earthquake came in just before midnight. And there was a 6.0 at Indonesia, far to the west of there. Only about a half an hour before that. There's a 6.0 there. There's a 5.7 aftershock. That aftershock occurred only about 22 minutes before the big 7.6 happened at Papua New Guinea. And then, of course, aftershocks there, not too surprising. So a big uptick in earthquakes there in Oceania, the equatorial area north of Australia. Also a 5.4 there south of Java. So that's the big story. Also a 5.5 at Fiji. So the Western Pacific and Eastern Indian Ocean there, seeing quite a few seismic events indeed. Getting back to space, and we streamed a huge crown prominence last night. You'll see it up at the North Polar region on this imagery. We'll actually zoom in on that for you also. Here's an extreme close-up. And it actually showed up better on the GO 16 SUVI, believe it or not. Its wider field of view and lower resolution served well. We did a 21-plus hour stream once again yesterday at twitch.tv/Smashomash. Since there's been such a conflagration, such a huge uptick in solar activity. Radial flux now up to 136 solar flux units. And there's the one-year graph of the radial flux. It's this black line. And our regular viewers are well aware that the radial flux is the most proportional number that we have to sunspot number. Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard not forecasting any solar storms. I would expect a brief period of geomagnetic unrest or even geomagnetic storm mid to late day tomorrow on September 12th. I think there is a CME impact on the way. So sometime in that range, expecting a minor CME impact. I'm expecting it to last only 6 hours or less, as it's pretty diffuse. But we'll be looking for that signal in the solar wind data tomorrow. Again, mid to late day tomorrow, expecting a minor coronal mass ejection impact. Besides that, not a lot of activity forecasted by NOAA or by us. Here's the last 4 hours of Earth's geospace. The space weather modeling framework is the model that's used, in this case, to model the last 4 hours of magnetohydrodynamic pressure. And we're seeing a rather static, equilibrated state here. Plasma sort of just chilling here at the moment, following a lengthy coronal hole high-speed stream. The electron storm has continued also, by the way. We'll show you that in the bonus features segment later in the video. Here's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. And that is showing you magnetic flux density. The units are nanotesla. Here's the KP index, only at 1 here. Geomagnetic calm conditions have returned to planet Earth. Next, a real-time solar wind. Solar wind speed about 450 kilometers per second. Solar wind density about 4 protons per cubic centimeter. The rest of that data is pretty uninteresting for the past 24 hours. Here is your GOES magnetometer on the GOES 16 and the GOES 17. We can expect to see this smoothing out here. And also the electron flux returning back to normal levels. Let's take a look at some more magnetic data here. Here's the heliospheric current sheet. Earth has recently moved into a south pole current sheet as south pole coronal holes rotate in from the eastern limb. We'll show you those in a moment. South pole current sheet will remain here for the foreseeable future. Here's our line of sight field plot. Sun's B field shown here in blue. North solar polar field in green. South solar polar field in red. And here are the coronal holes. South pole oriented coronal holes rotating in here on the east. We can expect some trans-equatorial ones here getting a little bit more well-defined in the next day or two. Here's the view from SDO in 211 angstroms. Probably the best wavelength from SDO to show coronal holes. And you can see a little bit of better definition happening there over on the eastern limb of those coronal hole systems. Those may be providing some high-speed solar winds in the coming days. And let's move to sunspots. By the way, some filamentary, some plasma instability happening around here in the sort of west-central region of the solar disk. And again, there are a lot of filaments. We're going to show you those a little bit later. So here's a sunspot scenario. We've got this new sunspot up here, which is quite exciting, 3101. And also 3098 has grown massively. Also this group down here, 3100 has grown. And we're going to have another one here, I believe, named 3102. Will be that region right there. So we've got some new sunspots. Likelihood of solar flares rising here as several groups approach the limb. Also, we have sunspot 3088 rising from behind the southeastern limb. That should be exciting when that makes its way back around to the Earth-facing side of the solar disk. Largest flare of the past 24 hours happened while we were doing show prep. Once again, that's 2 days in a row. Peak flux was at 10:30, and it was a C4.7 magnitude X-ray flare. Remember, folks, don't get flares and CMEs confused. Solar flares are X-rays, otherwise known as photons. And CMEs are protons. Mainly hydrogen gas, also helium gas, ions, hydrogen ions, helium ions, some electrons, and some other heavier elements. So here's the last 24 and 94 angstroms. One of the two best wavelengths to view solar flares. And we're going to actually zoom in on the southeastern limb here. It's basically eye candy. believe it is the hottest spot as far as flaring in the past 24 hours. And let's move on, as there's plenty more to cover. So we do see a minor uptick here in the proton flux. Not enough to cause any polar radio blackouts that I'm aware of. Looks like things are still pretty smooth here. That's barely a notable increase in the proton flux. Nothing to write home about. Here's a star chart if you're wondering what's going on as far as what's above our head in Lehigh Valley. There's a imagery of that. The moon is just setting with Jupiter close by. Mars higher up there on the ecliptic. Also Venus rising ahead of the sun. Venus, the third brightest object in the sky. If you want to make your own star chart like this, head to in-the-sky.org. Here's our solar system forecast. We've got a nearly full moon here, a gibbous waning moon. Here's the 1 week forecast. There's where things will be in 1 week. We'll be transitioning from a gibbous waning to a crescent waning moon in 7 days. Next, coronagraphs. We've got a number of CMEs happening here. Are they earthly directed? Well, the answer is probably not. That's yesterday's imagery. Some pretty decent coronal mass ejections happened. We'll show you a little bit more about their trajectory here in a moment. First, today's imagery. So we got 31 frames today, coming at you a little bit later than normal. Got a few more frames than we typically see from here. And let's take a look at the viewpoint from stereo A at Lagrange 5 and the Soho Lasco C3 at Lagrange 1. You can see Venus showing up there on stereo A. And indeed, none of those CMEs are earthly directed. For you new viewers, Earth would be off in this direction from stereo A's perspective. And you can see no solar plasma headed in that direction in the past 24 hours. Again, we are expecting a minor CME impact mid to late day tomorrow on September 12th. It should last no more than 6 hours. Here's the last 24. Our composite imagery here zoomed out with SDO 304 angstroms plus Lasco C2 and Lasco C3. A bit of a light show going on in the past 24 hours. Next, looking at filaments. Like I said earlier, there are a ton of filaments here. Look at all the filaments in the southern hemisphere, around the equator. Lots of filaments could be headed our way at any moment. Part of the reason why we keep streaming, because we are expecting to see additional coronal mass ejections. So here's the last about 2.5 hours from the GOES 16 SUVI. If you want to see the best imagery of this crown prominence, head to our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/smashomash. It happened at right around midnight, just after midnight today on 11 September 2022. Here's the last 24 from SDO. And let's move into our bonus feature segment. We see the satellite charging hazards waning here. So that's a good thing. Some minor internal charging hazards there over Oceania moving into the central Indian Ocean. So things calming down here. We expect the electron flux to be a little bit more reasonable today. And we brought up the 7-day chart here to show you the entire electron storm following that coronal hole high-speed stream. And that's a typical feature. We see high level of electron flux after coronal hole wind streams. It's a normal thing. And like NOAA, I would expect this to tick down a little bit today. That's the forecast model for relativistic electrons. Here's the 1-year graph. And that electron storm that recently happened was the highest levels of electron flux we've seen in the past year. That graph from solon.info. We'll also look at the F ionosphere layer, since that is the layer of the atmosphere where the GOES 16 and GOES 17 use radiography to measure the relativistic electrons. And here's the vibrational frequency of that slice of the atmosphere at about 300 kilometers of altitude. We're seeing quite a few ionosphere anomalies here happening once again. A bit of a surplus of high-frequency anomalies. It may be more evident to you in the anomalygram, so we're going to show that as well. There is the anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. So lots of high-frequency anomalies there, showing up in blue. And we don't want the video to be too long, so here's the latest image. That's 11:30 Universal Time ionogram. There's 11:30 Universal Time anomalygram. Let's also show the total electron content forecast. The free electrons in between your GPS satellite and your GPS handset. They can cause huge GPS errors. And things are looking mostly orderly here in terms of the total electron content. It's the coupled thermosphere, ionosphere, plasmasphere electrodynamics, showing the most likely places to see GPS errors. Next, we're looking at the latest intensitygram and latest solar magnetogram. We'll press refresh so you see it happening. Let's take a look at this brand new group up here. It's beta gamma class, for sure. As it approaches the limb, the likelihood of a major flare increases. This group here has rapidly grown since yesterday. It's beta gamma delta class. With its growth, the likelihood of solar flares goes up as well. Also some new groups down here. There are the magnetic fields of those. So this one will get a name here. This is Sunspot 3102, I believe. That's already beta gamma class as well. So you can see opposite polarity umbrae showing up there, a leading South Pole umbra and trailing North Pole umbra. This group down here, quite magnetically complex, so it's what you call a significant uptick in solar activity, folks. If you thought the sun was shutting down, sorry, not happening. So we'll bring up one more series of images here. This is Iron Star. 3 different species of ionized iron from SDO. 335, 193, and 94 angstroms. That data also from yesterday plus today. And now it's time. Time to move to weather. We covered the space weather, and now it's time to cover some Earth weather. So let's blast through some of that. And we're starting things out by looking at sea surface temperature anomalies and ocean currents. So there is the view from the Americas. We'll rotate to the east. There are the sea surface temperature anomalies and currents for the central world. Oh my God, there's an eddy. There's an eddy happening here off the coast of Somalia. Oh my God. I wonder if any pirate ships are being sucked under the sea. And there are the sea surface temperature anomalies of the east. And here are the surface winds. And yowzers, we've got some pretty high winds here. Right near Taiwan. What do we got? Hurricane force winds there. It's like at least a Category 1, maybe a Category 2 hurricane there, or a typhoon or whatever it's called in that portion of the world. Here are the jet streams. And there is an upper level counterclockwise rotation happening as well there. That is quite a significant low pressure. Also, this powerful low pressure here in the North Pacific. Jet stream blowing backwards over the northern Indian Ocean. Here are the jet streams of the Americas. Huge anticyclone here over northern South America. Check it out. That's a huge high pressure zone right there. Likely clear skies over that area. Huge anticyclone here over the western Atlantic as well. You can see a counterclockwise rotation in the northern hemisphere and a clockwise rotation in the southern hemisphere. It's high pressure across the Americas. Here are the surface winds of that portion of the planet. Surface winds of the central world, Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. And there are the jet streams. Huge anticyclone here over Northeast Africa as well. Another upper level clockwise rotation there. And let's continue on to take a look at the shortwave radiation map. So there's clouds and fog over the western world from the satellite view. Powerful low there off the east coast of South America. They're rotating clockwise as low pressures do in the southern hemisphere. Here's your weather.gov map. If your county's lit, click your county. We've got frost advisories over most of North Dakota. Some very cold temperatures showing up in Colorado. We'll get to it. That's the current state of affairs. If your county is lit, click your county. Some flood watches there around the Florida Gulf Coast and parts of Nevada. Also parts of Wisconsin, parts of northern Illinois, and portions of California still seeing some flood watches. So check it out. 33 degrees there in portions of central Colorado. It's still summertime, but some of those areas experienced freezing temperatures there overnight. That's just a temperature map there from windy.com. And here's your NASA GOES lightning mapper. That's the past about 10 hours. Looks like some missing data showing up there. Some missing data not showing up there. And here's your real-time lightning map. Some significant lightning happening here in the Gulf. We've got some terrestrial strikes here west of Chicago in the last hour. By the way, you can mess with the settings on here. I'm not going to do that because we're always showing the same settings every day, but there are different features that you can turn on and off there. We show enough other features that we leave it in the default settings. We've got some lightning happening there in eastern New Mexico, near Roswell. Oh my God, it's Project Bluebeam. Oh my God, it's a secret government weapons operation. They're striking down some extraterrestrial hunters to prevent them from finding secret government projects, folks. It's Project Bluebeam, Project Bluebeard, Project... Don't believe the nonsense, please. So next we're switching to the U.S. Doppler radar map as rain continues to fall in southern Alaska. We will focus on the lower 48 as rain continues to fall in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. Here's your shortwave radiation map showing clouds and fog from the 3.9 nanometer infrared satellite. And here is the water vapor map. And you can see some cold air being infused down here from central Canada. creating massive pressure gradients that are pushing their way across Missouri as we speak. Here's your recap. The U.S. Doppler radar showing vertical motion of water droplets. Heavy rain on its way to Chicago and Lake Michigan. It's a stormy day for the Great Lakes, although clear over Lake Superior, except for the very easternmost tip. Just the tip. Here is the shortwave radiation. It'll show clouds and fog when it's too dark to use the visible satellite, and here is water vapor. That's where we will close things out. Hopefully you're able to forecast your own weather. Hopefully you are able to understand things like space weather. Thanks for leaving a comment. One audio. We'll see you soon here at the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. And may that solar wind be at your back.